Welcome to Midwestern Kitchen. Today we're going to be making mozzarella cheese from scratch. I bought a gallon of whole milk from Walmart, as well as citric acid and animal rennet. You can get this on their website. It'll deliver to your door pretty quickly and there's no delivery fee. And then I also purchased pink Himalayan salt that I will use to salt the whey to make sure it's stored properly, as well as has a salty flavor so it's not too bland. And I just put that in the baggie because it was too difficult to get out of the bag it came in. And then I have my pot thermometer because the temperatures in mozzarella cheese are very strict. Stir. And this will be to scoop the whey out when I want to transfer some into here so I don't get messily everywhere else going on. And then I bought some kitchen cloths that I washed prior to the video, so that I could handle the mozzarella cheese without getting too hot. So now I'm going to begin by taking the gallon of milk, opening, and transferring it into my pot. It's all jumpy if it goes too fast. There we go. Now I'm just going to put this to the side. Get it later. So I'm going to check the temperature now because we're going to start with adding the citric acid as soon as the milk is at 55 degrees. So I'm just going to check to see where we're at. Okay, it's about 45 degrees. So I'm going to need to warm it up a little bit. So I'm going to stick it on the stove. Turn it on medium. And I'm going to stir it until it gets to 55. This is my first time making mozzarella cheese from scratch. So we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully well, because I would really like to make my own from scratch. It also doesn't seem too difficult to work with. It's more the heating and stretching at the same time that seems to be where most of the mistakes happen. So I'm just going to slowly heat this up. We're at 50 now, so about 5 more degrees, and then I'll pull it off, do the citric acid, and then put it back on the burner to heat some more. About 52.5. Only a couple more degrees, and then we'll pull it off the stove top. I've been making a few things with dairy lately, and they're weirdly intimidating. I'm also kind of excited to keep trying them. I've had success with butter. I actually made butter before I made this call, before I started the video again. Because I was running low on the butter that we have and I actually use it a lot in cooking. It melts better, in my opinion, as well as tastes better. It's fresher than the store-bought stuff. It's been sitting in the fridge for a long period of time. And I just use heavy whipping cream. I'll link that video in the cards below if you want to check that out. Alright, so it's about 55. This to the side. We'll bring the milk over here. And we are going to do a half cup of water and 1.5 teaspoons of citric acid. Should use the cover to roll that out. So set up, put it off to the side. And I'm just going to use one of these to stir it to get it to blend in. Once it's fully dissolved, then I'll pour it in here. So now it's fully dissolved. So I'm gonna grab my stir again. I'm gonna dump this in. And then I'm just gonna do an up-down motion with my spatula. You can use a spoon, obviously, until it is fully incorporated. Once that's completed, I'm going to put it back on the stove and heat it to 88 degrees. Put it back on medium. And I will continuously stir that. And if my milk mistake here. I'm going to keep it moving so that it doesn't get burned to the bottom or the citric acid doesn't settle. It shouldn't, because we dissolved it in water first, but better safe than sorry. Up, down motions. You can already see there's some solidifying in the milk. I don't know if you can see. Most of it in post. There's chunks of it on my spatula. Just gonna keep this nearby so that I'll go over the 88, because you can get up to about 90 degrees, but between 88 and 90 is the optimal temperature to put in the rennet. Anything hotter and you'll ruin your mozzarella. Well, that's it for a minute before I start again. See where we're at. About 64.5 degrees. Heat up just a little bit. Tighten it a little bit while I'm waiting for it to heat. But I'm not going to go too far because I don't want it to get too hot. So 68, so about 20 more degrees, and then we'll pull the pot off the stove. Just a little bit more, and we'll wait. Please put in the comments if you have anything you want me to try to make. I'm happy to do a first time make on video, see how it turns out, see what I mess up on. Tips and tricks would be great. If you know a better way to do mozzarella cheese or even butter, any of the things that you've seen me make, any of the pastas or dinners that I make as well. If you have any tips or tricks, I'd be happy to hear them. About 71. You can't see it well, but there is a lot. Already it looks like the citric acid is doing a lot to the milk, which is good. That's what we want, because we want it to be ready to then get the rennet and the curd to separate from the whey. So then we can form them into balls. You can either do multiple. I've seen people do 3 balls and kind of like stretch those until they get to the size. I'm going to try to keep my ball in one size. It'll take a little longer for it to heat up enough to stretch, but I do plan on using it one and done tonight as I make lasagna to see if it works out for my family and if we like the taste. And that it melts well, because I do like a melty mozzarella cheese, so we'll see. And I don't really eat cheese just by itself or with like apples or something. It's something that I can do, and I did actually make paneer once. I will be making that again on video. It's actually super simple. It's a crumbly cheese. You can also use the same recipe to make ricotta. So it's very versatile. I'm not really a ricotta fan. I'm not remaking that or putting in my lasagna tonight because we don't like the texture that it gives. We're all very texture-based in this family. So I don't make that, or I haven't made that, and I don't really plan to, but I do make the paneer, which I love and tastes delicious. Oh, turn it off. In by itself or with fruit. We're at about 76 degrees, so 12 more degrees, and then we'll be home free. You can, if you want, turn it on higher, but since this is my first time, we'll worry about going over that 88 degrees. Again, like I said, 1 or 2 degrees is not a huge deal, but since we're almost at 80 already, I don't want to push it. For my first time, I don't want to make it too hot and then ruin the whole thing. It's a waste of a gallon of milk. Dairy is not cheap. If you buy raw, it's not even more expensive, especially in Wisconsin. I called farmer's farm, actually not too far from where I live, and was told it's $12 for a gallon, which to me is insane. I do eventually want a dairy cow. I would love to homestead full-time. I do have a full-time job right now, but long-term goals is to have a homestead, just a hobby farm. So then we're gonna have a couple cows, dairy cows, goats, chicken. We're gonna get chickens here. We can actually have chickens now in our neighborhood. So we'll be getting that next year. So we can learn how to make things with pigs. So I'll be learning how to make pasta. I am waiting for, actually Prime Day is coming up. So I'll be buying, hopefully, the add-on to my KitchenAid standing mixer to make pasta and some other things, maybe grain. So I can make flour from scratch. But we'll see how that pans out. I do want to get the ice cream attachment as well because I would really love to make ice cream from scratch, another thing with dairy. And I have a 6-month-old. So she's going to start eating more salads. She's doing a lot of purees, which I'm doing from home because I'm not a huge fan of the store-bought ones anymore. I've grown a lot since my first child, who's almost 14. Yes, so I'm making purees, but I also want to make like fishies from scratch and pretzels from scratch, Pop-Tarts, stuff that I can make that she can snack on when she's a little bit older, cereals, that sort of thing. I'm looking forward to trying that from scratch, so I do plan on doing videos for those as well. Oh, we're at 86.5, so I'm just going to keep this in here until it hits 88 because we're getting so close. Actually, I'll pull it out because the conduction can mess with it a little bit. Induction. Mind you, I hate the stove top. I would love to go back to a gas burner stove. Maybe the next house. When we have acreage. Would be wonderful. And we are at 89. So I'm gonna turn this off. Get this off of the stove. We are gonna add our rennet, which it does say actually on the animal rennet how much to use per gallon of milk is 1 teaspoon diluted. So, I'm sorry, not 1 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon. So I have my 1/4 teaspoon here, and I'm just going to add that. Till it's full. I'm gonna dump that in, and I'm gonna use it again as a stir. I'm gonna wash it anyway, so dual purpose. Once that's in there, put that in the sink. Then I'm going to just pour it in I have to again use the up-down motion to fully incorporate it. All right, now I'm going to stick it back on the stove top, get it to 105 degrees, and then I'll remove it so that it can separate the curds from the whey. More up-down motions, make sure it's fully in there. It's about 89 right now. Turn up a little bit just so it gets 105, and then I will turn off my stovetop. I will remove it from the hot stovetop portion. Bring it over there, and we will let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes. Then we'll check the curd to see if it's got a clean cut, and go from there. So I'm following a recipe, but it already looks like the curds and the whey are separating, so I'm just going to remove it from the heat now. It was at about 92. And I'm going to cover it and let it sit for 10 minutes. Okay. While I wait for this to settle and the curds to separate from the whey, we have about 7 minutes left. I am going to add some salt to the container. I'm going to store it in my fridge for a couple hours before I use it. I shred it. So I'm going to do a 1/4 cup of salt. Salt everywhere. There we go. 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to fill to probably about here, maybe about half, to make sure that the mozzarella is covered once I put the whey in. Well, I'll put the whey in first, but then once the whey is in and the mozzarella is put in, that the mozzarella is fully covered before I stick it in the sink. Fridge. In the fridge, not the sink, because that'd be crazy. Alright, it has been 10 minutes, so I'm going to take a look. Does not look like it should. Looks probably like I overstirred it. I'm going to try to do, yeah, it's just a ton of little curds. I'm still going to cut it and move forward. Because from what I can tell, it'll still work out. It just might not be perfect. Cut it. Normally you would cut it in horizontal lines and then perpendicular, and then go underneath where you can to cut it into bigger chunks. But the next time I make it, it looks the way it's supposed to. I will post a follow-up video if I can figure out what I did wrong. Hopefully it still tastes delicious. So I'm going to skim off some of the whey. And add it to my salt. One more. Okay, so that's enough. So that's it. So the salt can absorb. I'll give it a little stir in a little bit. Put this in my sink. So I'm not going to need it. And then I'm going to try to form balls. I'll actually form it into one big. And then I'm going to stick it back on the heat because I need the whey to get hot enough that it'll start to stretch. That's not gonna work for me. So I am actually going to use, I'm going to pause. It's my hands go through. And then I'm going to get out another pot that I can strain it into, and then I can form it into a ball that way. Okay, so I have, my cheesecloth has kind of big holes in it, so I just have another pot, a strainer, and then I'm going to add 2 of these cheesecloths just to catch as much of the curds as I can. I don't want to lose any of it. And then I'm going to use my ladle that I used to get the whey out, and I'm going to ladle it over. My knife out of the way, scooch this closer, avoid any spillage if I can. And this way I can then pack the balls even if they're loosely. And then as I heat up the whey, I can start stretching them. I'm hoping this way I will catch as much as I need. Do not have too many or too much. I'll try to let some of it out because I don't want this to overflow either my strainer or my pot underneath. There's quite a bit of curd in here. Hopefully means we'll get a pretty big ball of mozzarella. But accidents happen, and I'll probably mess it up. But hopefully it still tastes good, and hopefully it still melts. Anything else you can work with. I do also want to try making mozzarella sticks. So I did watch someone make a video on how to like stretch these into mozz sticks, so you can have some mozzarella sticks or string cheese. They would deep fry them to make a mozzarella sticks, or you can make string cheese out of them and eat those. I do plan on making those because I actually do like string cheese. Although I like one brand from the store, I'm very picky about my string cheese. So I'm hoping if I can make it myself, I'll have less of that as an issue. Some of the whey get out of here so that I can add some more in here. Let's switch a little away so I can gather these up and get some more whey out of here. Also want a bit more of a ball. Reopen it. And I'm going to add more because I still have quite a bit of curds in here. I don't really want to miss out on it. If I can. If I had a scooper with holes in it, there was actually a curd spoon I don't have, and I actually am struggling to find it. So I can find it at like online cheesemakers, but I'd like to just buy it in a store. I'm struggling to find one of those, but I do plan to get one of those so that I have an easier time to do this, so that I don't have to actually strain any of the whey, and I can just pull out the curd. We're getting there. I think that's what I'm probably going to be able to get. such really small pieces. So I'm going to move this to the side, squeeze this back into a ball. Don't have to squeeze all of the whey out. I just want it to be in one ball. And then I'm going to put the whey back in. So I can heat it out. Alright, so now I have my ball. It's very loosely put together, so I'm just going to place it within it. And then I'm going to put it back on the stove to heat. Now you're trying to find a sweet spot where the water is a little too hot to handle, making your ball of mozzarella start to stretch. And while I wait for that, I'm going to clean up some of this stuff. I'm not actually going to wash my spoon yet in case I need it to get the hunk of mozzarella out of there if it gets too hot for my hands. But I am going to stir this while I wait. Get all the salt to get closer to dissolving. This will give the mozzarella a good salty flavor. You can also add salt to the actual way that you're heating it in. So as you stretch it and bend it and roll it over itself, it'll absorb that salt. But since I'm going to leave it in the fridge for a couple hours, before I actually use it, I'm going to leave it in the salted way, and hopefully it'll absorb that flavor as well. And I spilled. 'Cause I'm a toddler. Wipe that up. As you'll see when you watch more and more of my videos, as I continue to post them, I am a messy cooker. I do not clean. I don't normally clean up after myself, but I do in the videos because my husband is kind enough to watch our youngest while I do this. And I say kind enough because although he is the dad, he watches her 5 days a week while I work, because he is a injured vet. So he is on disability. So thank God it's not a serious disability, but it is enough that it makes sense that he's home all the time, so he gets to watch our youngest, which is great because daycare is insanely expensive and nobody's got money for that. It's starting to get warmer, but I can tell that it's still breaking up, so I'm just gonna put it back in. Let it get hot. And I'm just going to try it every minute or two just to see if it's starting to hold its shape, and then I can start to pull it. Until it does that, it's not even close to being mozzarella cheese yet. But it's definitely still, I'm definitely still able to handle it. It's not too hot for me to handle yet. But it will get too hot to handle. When it will, I'll either try the gloves on or I will just burn my fingers off while I do it. Really does depend on my feeling in the moment. Put that back in. Also, as it gets hotter, your curd will start to sink to the bottom quicker. It's not quite to the point, it's still actually bobbing to the top. I don't know if you can see that in the actual video, but I will pull it out when I'm actually starting to keep its shape. And then when I'm starting to elasticize. Just gonna hold that in there. water is getting hot, or the whey, sorry. The whey is getting hot. I'm actually going to start breaking and remolding. Get some of more of that whey out. Forming it into a tighter ball. I use my cheesecloth to help me keep it into a ball because I am not very talented at this. And it's like breaking apart. So this way I'll be able to keep it into a ball. And as it gets more elasticity, I will start to pull it apart myself and not need the cheesecloth. Anymore. It's getting a little too hot for me, so I'm gonna rinse my hands up. Dry them. Then I'm gonna put the gloves on and see if it helps with the heat. If I can get them on with my damp fingers. We'll see. Oh my. Ooh, struggles. Aha, number one. Second glove. Alright, and then we have glove numero dos. Skills. Alright. You can see that it's not breaking apart as quickly or as easily anymore, which is great. That means the whey is getting hot enough to actually help it form. Break it in half and help it form the other way again, if I can. Not supposed to overwork mozzarella, so hopefully that's not what I do. All right, put it back in. Of course, now I close on, I'm getting whey all over the place. Oh goodness. Stick to my fingers. There we go. So this is the process and it takes time. And actually this water, this whey, salted whey looks disgusting, but I think it's because the salt is pink. That's made it almost like a muddy brown. Everything everywhere. Back out. Just squeezing out whey every time I do it and kind of just checking to see on its hold. You can see that it's not breaking apart as much anymore. Yes, last time I broke it in half. Still going to do the same thing. This way we'll get it to get all of the whey heated evenly so it doesn't take as long to get to the center. But we'll still get a ball. Not a pretty ball, but it's ball. Put that back. A lot more tolerable with the gloves on. It's still hot, but it's not even close to being like, yeah. Of course, I have to check the glasses because you can't have glasses and not push them up constantly. At least I have not been able to do that. So my giant curd is not rising to the top as much anymore, which means it is getting hot enough to stay at the bottom of the whey. It's getting hot enough to keep the curd at the bottom. But for now, I'm kind of just like pushing it down to keep it down there. And take my fingers out so that they can cool off because they're a little hot. I'm getting warm, touching all the heat. See that it's starting to stretch. We're gonna form it into a ball, which is great. It's no longer whipping the way it was. Oop, just squirted. That's disgusting. Squirted. Weigh it myself. All right, so I'm just gonna form another ball. No, I'm not perfect at this because I've never done it before, but it's ball-esque. It's all really neat. Put it back in. Make sure it stays submerged. So it gets hot enough to work. You know, normal things. All normal things. I mean, all in all, it's a pretty good size. So, I mean, when all is said and done, this will be a pretty good size mozzarella. Should grant me hopefully about 2 cups of cheese so that I can use it for the lasagna. I did also buy backup mozzarella cheese that's already shredded for the lasagna in case for some reason this does not give me enough. Because I wasn't sure, because it being my first one, I'm not sure how much 1 gallon of milk will give me. Squirt it all in place. Do the same thing. We're gonna start to stretch it, which is great. You can see that it's tearing a little bit though. You might have to see that from there, but it's not quite. So we're just gonna pour it back into a ball. Stick it back in. My baby's crying upstairs. She does not like being stuck in one room. She's also very bored. Just got her a walker and she's just having a blast with it, but since I need the kitchen area, which is in our open concept living room area, nowhere really for her to scooch around without being super loud while I'm recording a video. So your dad's got the unfortunate job of trying to keep her sane while she's stuck upstairs for the remainder of my videos. Just this one though. I'm only making one today. I am gonna cook more, but she'll be back here when I'm not videoing. So I don't care how much she is. Do it like that. So now that it's stretching, I'm gonna actually turn the heat down to low. So it keeps the temperature, but doesn't get hotter. It doesn't need to get hotter. It's already as hot as it needs to be because it's starting to form the way that it's supposed to. Again, you can see that it's stretching, which is great. Look at that beautiful stretch. Oh, still breaking, see, so it's not quite ready, but it is getting there. Pull from the middle, scoop it around the back, and then form a ball. It's not the prettiest on the other side, but looks nice on this side. But then, really tired. Let's stick that back there. Probably only a couple more minutes and it'll be ready. And then we'll package it in the salted whey and I'll put it away. I actually might stir it that way because it grosses me out the color it is. So. Might as well do that while I'm not doing anything besides forming the ball. I'll use just these 2 things. still a brownish color, but makes it less disgusting looking, in my opinion. So, perfect. Also less chunks. Of curd. So, looks good to me. Oh, beautiful, look at that. No ripping at all. I would say we are almost done. Okay, so it was ripping on the other side. Okay, I'm gonna form it back into another ball. And hopefully this will be the last ball I need to form. Thank you, Monka. Monka's contributing because there is an ambulance making noise outside. So he thought he'd yell. One sharp bark. Small bark. Wasn't that loud. It doesn't seem there's quite enough weight to fully cover my cheese. So I'm just going to keep pushing it down to make sure that it gets fully coated and hot. We'll do one more stretch and hopefully that'll be the last one we need to do, and then I will turn off the oven. Stove, I will turn off the stove, it's not the oven. We'll place it in that dish, and then I'll cover it and put it in the fridge. Look at that. Beautiful. No tear. So we're going to make it ball one more time. I'm going to stick it back in just so that it can form the ball. With me stretching it, I don't want it to stay in a stretch mess. Okay, so my video cut off. Apparently I recorded too loud. That was the last time I stretched it. Formed it into a ball, left it in the Whey for another 30 seconds, pulled it out, and then I added it to my salted Whey. Pushed down until it's fully covered, just so that I know it'll be fully salted. And I'm going to stick it in the fridge for about 4 hours before I start making dinner, and I'll shred it with my shredder. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe. Also, drop any comments, any questions that you have. If you know why my curd looked the way it did, how I can do better the next time, that would be great, because I do plan on making this again. Thank you.